Greetings and salutations! I'm Master Moses, and today I'll be counting down the top 10 iconic Shakespearean quotes. Shakespeare. Everyone's heard of him, but everyone's probably even read some of his work in school. But everybody, and I mean everybody, has had him quoted at them in one situation or another. For the record, I am not Shakespeare, and I did not write his works. Perhaps neither did he, though that's a topic for another day. Anyway, on with the list. All that glitters is not gold. This simple line, written on a note within a golden casket, was discovered by an unfitting suitor for the beautiful Portia. He is tasked with choosing between 3 caskets, one of gold, one silver, and one lead, to find her picture within one. Should he find it, he may have her hand in marriage. He decides that as beautiful as she is, she must have her picture in only the golden casket, and walks away empty-handed when naught but the picture of death itself is inside. This teaches readers to be wary of making assumptions based on outer beauty and wealth. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. This quote may not sound familiar, but take yourself on a journey through time. The date is November 1st, 1960. Hairstyles are big and rock is bigger. Elvis Presley takes the stage and sings his newest cover hit, Are You Lonesome Tonight? Midway through the song, he begins reciting a brief poem. Let's see how familiar they sound when he states, You know, someone said the world's a stage, and each must play a part. Sounds pretty familiar if you ask me. For those who caught it, and for those just coming for some good music, the King of Rock spread Shakespeare to the masses, adding another accomplishment to his sparkling belt. Love looks not with the eyes, but with the mind. For this quote, I must give you a brief look into ancient Roman culture. Cupid, who the Greeks called Eros, was known to carry with him a bow whose arrows could cause those they pricked to fall in love. He was also nearly always depicted blindfolded. Thus, love is blind, both symbolically and religiously. This quote would have called up the mental image of Cupid immediately to the audience, and has meaning even and to us today, without the context. I am a Jew. Hath not a Jew eyes? Hath not a Jew hands, organs, dimensions, senses, affections, passions? Fed with the same food, hurt with the same weapons, subject to the same diseases, healed by the same means, warmed and cooled by the same winter and summer as a Christian is? If you prick us, do we not bleed? If you tickle us, do we not laugh? If you poison us, do we not die? And if you wrong us, shall we not revenge? If we are like you in the rest, we will resemble you in that. If a Jew wrong a Christian, what is his humility? Revenge. If a Christian wrong a Jew, what should his sufferance be by Christian example? Why, revenge. The villainy you teach me I will execute, and it shall go hard, but I will better the instruction. That was a long one. But every word is pretty much packed with meaning, and more than anything else, emotion. This quote covers everything from prejudice, both racial and religious, to addressing the bigots of the day. To say the least, many watching this piece would not have been pleased over these lines, and yet they still apply today. You can substitute nearly any group with prejudice against them into these lines of wisdom, and see the meaning remains the same. We're all human. Et tu, Brute? Well, we went from a really long one to a really short one. However short it may be, though, it still contains massive amounts of emotion. To give it some context, Julius Caesar attempted to completely restructure the Roman government, placing himself as its sole leader. Then, conspiracy arises, and those involved lead an attack on Caesar's life. He is stabbed, and looking up into the face of his killer, he is crushed to discover that it is none other than his closest friend, Brutus, who has placed the well-being of Rome ahead of their friendship. He then delivers this line to him, which translates to, Even you, Brutus? Losing all will to fight, he then says, Then falls Caesar, and dies, alone in the end. This line has been introduced into popular modern culture to represent betrayals at the hands of one who's trusted most. The lady doth protest too much, methinks. Many of you have heard this quote and are probably about to correct me right now, but I assure you this is really the quote, which has been misquoted for years by placing the word methinks at the beginning of the line. This line is given in response to the way an actress portraying the queen refuses to move on beyond the king, unlike the queen in real life. It's dry, even sarcastic, as she points out the differing performance. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Sometimes too hot the eye of heaven shines, and oft is his gold complexion dimmed, and every fair from fair sometimes declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest, nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. While Shakespeare was most famed for his plays, he also wrote numerous sonnets which are still quoted today. This sonnet in particular, comparing a girl to a day in summer, has been used or referenced in numerous cards, movies, and books. Lord, what fools these mortals be! This line sums up the behavior of humanity in many of Shakespeare's works. However, it's written with ironic humor, as throughout the play, the fairies who hold such views are quickly caught up in the foolishness themselves. This in part addresses the mentality of those who look down upon others, only to inevitably be dragged down with them. O Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo? Often misunderstood as a line in which Juliet searches for her beloved, this line is one of the most iconic lines of the great tragedy of their love. For anyone who's not read it, I'll give some context. For countless generations, the families Capulet and Montague were at odds with one another, usually to the point of violence. Romeo, a young member of the Montague household, encountered Juliet of the Capulets at a party, and the two quickly fall in love, unaware of their respective identities. Upon discovering each other's households, Juliet delivers this line, asking him why, of all people, he must be Romeo. Why, she wonders, does a name matter? She also tells him that a rose by any other word is just as sweet, and she feels that in the end, their names and families don't matter as much as their love for one another. To be or not to be, that is the question. After Hamlet's life crashes down around him, he begins to question whether his life is even worth living any longer. He delivers a soliloquy, a speech to no one save for himself, leading with this line. The full soliloquy is as follows: To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing in them, to die, to sleep no more. And by a sleep to say we end the heartache and the thousand natural shocks that flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consummation devoutly to be wished to die, to sleep perchance to dream. Nay, there's the rub. For in that sleep of death what dreams may come, when we have shuffled off this mortal coil, must give us pause. There's the respect that makes calamity of so long life. For who would bear the whips and scorns of time, the oppressor's wrong, the proud man's contumely, the pangs of deprised love, the law's delay, the insolence of office, and the spurns that patient merit of the unworthy takes, when he himself might his quietest make with a bare bodkin? Who would fardels bear to grunt and sweat under a weary life, but that the dread of something after death, the undiscovered country, from whose bourne no traveller returns, puzzles the will, and makes us rather bear those ills we have, than fly to others that we know not of? Thus conscience does make cowards of us all, and thus the native hue of resolution is sicklied over with the pale cast of thought, and enterprises of great pitch and moment with this regard their currents turn awry, and lose the name of action. The raw emotion and longing for a purpose makes this into one of the most well-known lines in all of Shakespeare's works. He desperately wants a reason to go on living, as he's unsure if he even wants to bother anymore. And thus we conclude our list of Shakespeare's 10 most iconic quotes. There were definitely a lot to choose from, and I'm sure there's ones I've missed. Leave comments below of your favorites, and feel free to like and subscribe. We're constantly working to add a diverse variety of material, not only top 10s, but many other video types and content as well. Thanks, everyone!